Can a family engage a loved one into a recovery journey or a healing journey? I believe that a family can. I know this because I've seen other families do it. But I know in my even saying this, I'm going against the grain of rational thinking in the culture, which is the norm is that families, they enable addiction, and that's a myopic focus on the problem. And so what I have been doing is I expand the focus, and when I do that, it's quite clear to me that the culture has been enabling addiction way longer than any of us have been alive. For decades, I've wondered about addiction in one family member, and it seems to result in other family members, quote unquote, doing the wrong thing, trying to help their loved one who's struggling with addiction. And so by wrong thing, I'm enabling old patterns that reinforce addiction. And I have wondered, how do all these families know how to do, quote unquote, the wrong thing? Where did they learn that from? And, oh goodness, I'm Jeff Jones. And because addiction was in my extended family, really from a child, I have thought about these questions all of my life, consciously, for many, many decades. And to me, it seems obvious that the culture contributes to the problem of addiction. And I've been thinking about this for a long time, so it's easy for me to say that, and that is my perspective. And from how I see this, the problem starts when the individual with the addiction and their family is looked at, thought about, talked to in a down power role with some of these shaming labels that I mentioned before. I've created a family addiction engagement training, and it's a training here. And the goal is not that families understand all this confusing stuff in the past. The goal is that families know that it's there and it trickles down and it gets in their family, every family, and it's confusing. The goal is for families to learn what's going on, to make some changes, and they meaning the family, becomes a significant part of the solution. And I know this is possible. I've done it with other families. I see the power here. And I also know that there's no one size fits all. I can just say, do this, do this, do this, and every family is going to be the same. That's not going to happen. Know that that I strive to not to just tell people what to do. And the exception to that is the closer someone is to danger, then I am going to say something to help them get out of danger. But I want to work with people to help them discover their own criteria for decision making and what pathway is going to be the best for their family and how to nuance that pathway. And there's probably 4 different pathways, and all of them can be nuanced. If you do the work in this program, the chances of next stressor coming along and throwing you back is minimized quite a bit. And if you do get thrown back, you'll be able to get unstuck, likely by yourself or with a minimal amount of help from someone else like myself and coaching groups. I'll say more about that in a minute, but the family addiction engagement training, it's a 6-week do-it-yourself online education process, and there's videos, there's resources, And there's field work, there's exercises that I invite people to go through. And the FAET program, FAET is for Family Addiction Engagement Training, that program helps to identify some of these factors out here, mixed messages in the culture, and then it helps to identify this trickle down from one generation to another. And every generation has some ideas about addiction. The culture has some ideas about addiction, that those mainstream messages filter down to families, and then families carry them from one generation to the next and pass them along with like beliefs, worldview, communication, language, relational power dynamics, etc., etc. That is some of what you can expect to get in this program.